Tonight on Game Night, it's that time of year again where we do our awards roundup shows. This one is the 2019 Kinderspiel des Jahres. So please join Nikki, Mike, Mark, Lincoln, Rusty, and myself, Dave, as we discuss the 3 games nominated and vote for what we think will win. The 3 nominated games are Go Gecko Go, Fabulantica, and Tal der Vikinger, aka Valley of the Vikings. Mark, why don't you pick one and start us off?
Okay, let's start in the middle with Fabulantica.
Okay.
So, right away when I played it, it seemed like an old game, Enchanted Forest or Sagaland, which won Spiel des Jahres a million years ago, like in 1980 or something, I don't know, a long time ago. In that, you got that memory element, which, you know, I played that game a long time ago, and I played this one now, both thinking, like, is that fun? Is the memory element fun? But... You know, I'm playing it with adults. These games are meant to be played with kids. And when I remember playing that game with my kids, who are long since grown up, but still I can remember, they liked the memory element. And they were, you know, I've always heard that kids are great at memory element. My kids were okay.
But better than you.
Better than me. Well, they just had fun with the memory element in a way that was a little tedious for me. So as I'm playing it, I'm thinking the game wasn't super fun for me, but I thought I was imagining playing with my kid and thinking, oh, I bet we would have some fun with this, you know. And the kind of fairy tale theme is good too, you know. And it looks nice, it looks colorful. I mean, it would be fun to play with kids.
Yeah, Nikki P, what do you think?
I actually enjoyed this one. Again, memory games for adults is like I have too much in my head already. But the element I enjoyed in this one was the kind of the coconut thing, where you were moving the castles and changing it around. So it wasn't just your normal memory of this one's here and this one's here, and they always stay in the same place.
Right.
You can move them a little bit, but not like crazy out of control. Everything's different, just keeping track of 1 or 2 things. I also liked that you weren't finding the same exact a pair. You're finding 2 different things, like the dragon and the helper, the wizard kid or whatever it was.
There's a mirror and there's Puss in Boots and
Well, you're going to give nicknames to all of them by the end of the game, right?
So that made it fun too. And then, of course, adding the element of having to move to the place that you wanted to go to do.
Right.
As most memory games, you kind of just go that one and that one, and
Yeah,
and you're
actually
done.
the moving kind of screws with your recollection of things too.
Yeah. Rusty, what do you think?
Well, I liked it a lot, especially because of the moving mechanic. It reminded me a little bit of Elfin Roads and that needing to plan out, not just go, hey, this is here, that's there.
Right.
It helps obfuscate things a little bit. And that, I think, brought it up a little bit for me.
Makes sense. Mike?
So I think it's probably the weakest of the 3 games here. I enjoyed playing it, but in between the memory element and planning and moving things around, I can see how kids could be kind of a little frustrated, especially if there's a little bit of take that on that. And I again, if they're good at memory, I think it'll be fun, but I think there could be a lot of frustration involved.
All right. Lincoln?
Well, we played this actually with a child, Tashi. She's fantastic, and I don't feel she was frustrated by it. She was fantastic, and she was disappointed when she won the game because she wanted to keep playing. It's really, for me, there's a strategy element that makes the memory, because you're only focusing on a couple things. You're not trying to match the entire array.
Right.
So as long as you are tracking what you have, if you have cards in front of you, if you don't have cards in front of you, you're aimlessly going around trying to find anything to get you a card.
But that's what happened to me.
Of
Plus,
course.
I didn't have the right cards either.
Right, of course.
Right.
But it's, I think it's quite fun, and there's actually some strategy to it. And it is clearly a good game for kids. What did you think, Dave?
I'm going to repeat what a lot of us said already, right? The memory aspect of it, of course, was not lethal for me, but like frustrating. No, frustrating is the wrong word. It's just that I got tired of tracking it after a while.
It's not fun, maybe.
Well, it wasn't that it wasn't fun so much as it was just like, all right, never mind. I'm going to just... But that's okay. I still just decided at that point that I was going to do what you said, which was I'm going to focus on like 2 or 3 things, and I'm just going to wait until people reveal stuff for me. Mm-hmm. I did like the playing the cards to move aspect of it. I liked that hindered you in a weird way. And again, that could be frustrating. Maybe for kids, I don't know. I mean, in the game that I played, there was a guy who could have won the game and wasn't able to because he didn't have the card that he needed.
Right.
And that gave me one more turn.
Right.
To like move literally from the top of the board to the bottom of the board, which was in itself very satisfying.
Right.
But memory games do seem to favor kids, and I mean, Enchanted Forest won Spiel des Jahres. I mean, not the Kinderspiel, that was the straight up Spiel des Jahres back in the day. So that was the game of the year, but granted, that was 20 plus years ago. So I don't know, maybe 30 plus years ago, right?
I think at least maybe 40 years ago.
I'm at that point where it's like, oh, that was like 4 years ago. And I look it up and it was like 16 years ago. Not even off by a couple of years.
You know, something else I think is smart about Fabulantica is that while you're looking for things, you're not often looking for the exact same thing. So it's not a race to find this one thing,
right,
and then someone gets it and the other person either didn't remember or didn't have the cards or whatever. You're kind of doing your own thing, and I think that helps it as a lighter game.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Does anyone else have anything else want to say?
No.
All right, Rusty, pick one and take us somewhere else.
Telde Viking or Valley of the Vikings. This was the first of the three that I played, and I absolutely loved it right out of the box.
Right.
The fact that it's got this physical component of knocking pieces over is just that you're actually engaged in the components of the game. You're getting to be physical with the game.
Right.
And I think a lot of kids will enjoy that. Just knocking things over. Bowling is always a fun little thing if they can get that. And that's got that feel there. So that brings that up. And then the fact that there is the strategic level of the actions that the kids may not recognize, but they get to move things along and rewards, I think is a big strong point for this. It's an immediate knock something over and immediate reward.
Mike.
So I almost killed Rusty in our game, so that was actually a little fun. But I think it's fun because parents can enjoy playing the game and playing a little bit on the strategic level where the kids just kind of knock things over. So I think it's really good for both people to be able to do that. Whereas in Fampulantica, that's why I fell flat to me. But,
right.
The other thing is the components are really well made. It's also pretty quick too. Once you get starting moving, it goes really, it's a 5 to 10 minute game. It does not take forever. And then you can play again like we did.
Right. Lincoln, what did you think?
I really like Telde Vikinger. I think playing it with adults kind of sort of drags it down. Because
it becomes too strategic?
I witnessed a game of it not too long ago. There was a lot of violence and anger. It was kind of odd. Because, it's fun. All that's fun. And I love all of the elements of that game. But I think that if you... The movement on the board is probably harder for younger kids to grok. I mean, it starts at 6, so obviously they probably don't need to worry about it until they're maybe 8 or 9 anyway. But it's really, really great. And of course, it's Haba with its beautiful components as usual. They really do make some gorgeous games. What do you think, Mark?
I didn't like this one very much. In fact, I think it has some problems as a kid's game because I think this is the kind of game it's a kid's game for adults. Right. Because the scoring and what you do actually in the strategy you're talking about, it's like you have things to do. You have smart plays to make.
Right.
And the toy factor part, as a I'm not a former parent, but I mean my kids used to be young. I would be like dreading this game.
You're going to be a grandfather soon.
They're gonna that'll be the next step. But it's like they're going to get this game and the pieces are going to go flying all over the place and the kids are going to be too ready.
Only if Mike is playing.
I know there was some major.
I'm the bad student. I'm the bad.
Yeah, honestly, I mean I think about that. I probably said in other years too about games like which games if my young kid pulled them out where I think okay fine we'll play that or maybe that's even going to be fun and which games would be like oh gosh not that one and I think that would be this one. I'd be like oh that's a problem.
Nikki, what'd you think?
Components, everything, beautiful, art, great. I just didn't enjoy it that much.
Yeah.
I don't know what part of it was not. I think the bowling part, actually, which should be a fun part.
Right.
I don't know. It didn't do it for me at all.
Well, that was Tashi's issue, but she's a left-hand. We had because basically you should be dead on, right? And we had it slightly at an angle because of the board, and she's left-handed and she was doing it with her right, and so she got frustrated with the bowling aspect. She loved the boats. That was her unsolicited opinion. I'll tell the rest of the ones.
The 3D boats?
She was like crashing the boat with her dad.
We were playing with the boats. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
That was no fun.
because it is really good looking on the table for sure.
The strategy of moving the pieces in sort of the order that which you do that in is interesting in the sense that maybe young kids might not get that, but does it matter if they get that or not? I mean, right? Can't you just move stuff anyway and not worry about it?
I'm not worried about that part. The score would just be whatever it happens to be.
The thing I liked about it was I liked that you could have a plan, like, oh, I want these 3 colors, and then you could not get the 3 colors you wanted to hit. And then it was like, oh, now what do I do? The thing that I wish about it actually was I wish it had been harder to hit those colors in a way. There was almost maybe like a 3 to 7% chance I was not going to hit the colors I was aiming at. And I'm not
a better shot than I am.
No, that's just it.
7%.
Well, all right. That was a weird figure, right? but a low percentage. And I'm not that great at dexterity games. So,
that's true.
Now, granted, it's for kids, so they want to probably make it easier.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the disappointment.
Maybe there needs to be a smaller bowling ball, and you have to play with a smaller bowling ball, so it's harder.
Yeah, they don't get a smaller ball.
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I think the dexterity part of it, you get to place the colors and when you're trying to hit them. Half the time I missed the colors because I was either too hard or didn't have enough finesse. I think it's a lot harder than you think.
No, you could be right. I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I was usually hitting the things I wanted to hit, which was fine, but part of the fun of the game was when you would miss or when someone else would miss, right? More than anything else, when you're wishing your opponent's like, no. Right?
Well, it's the scoring thing on the dock is what complicates the game, I feel, for young people. It's, somebody has to go off.
Right.
And then you have to score it in a specific order, which all that, I guess, I mean, who knows? Kids are probably fantastic with it. Tashi was a little young for it, I think. But maybe kids that are a little bit older have no problem with that.
Or it doesn't matter for your kids. You just play it and you just pick the
Of course.
and go for it. And that's okay too,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
Right. And also the sort of take that aspect of it, which I didn't really care one or the other. Do you think that would be...
I think it's kids, not great.
Well, kids still like to take stuff from kids.
They
it
do.
just depends.
It just feels like an adult game.
It does. Definitely feel a little bit more.
All right, well,
mature.
there's one left, Lincoln, so...
Okay, well, Go Gecko Go probably is my favorite one of the 3. I mean, I really do like Tell the Vikinger, but I get the dexterity aspect that Nikki's talking about. But this game's just fantastic and beautiful. It's actually a lot more complicated, when you guys were playing it earlier, the discovery about it, that there's actually quite a bit of rules, but it's so much fun. There's options to do things, the bridges or the logs or whatever, make it interesting and give you options, and should I push or should I go for a roll? And I love the weather die or whatever it is called. I guess it is a weather die basically, isn't it?
Sun, lightning, and rainbows.
Yeah, so it's
would
pretty great. And I just, all the way across, it really is a fantastic production and super fun to play.
Yeah? Nikki?
I enjoyed playing this one. I liked the stacking was silly and fun.
Funky stack.
The funky stack, yes. I enjoyed the art, the colors. I liked that it had the different levels you could play, difficulty with the log, bridge that you said.
The log,
and, there's a little bit of a different way you could approach it. It's not everybody's doing it this way. Some people are really aiming for the shadow areas to push themselves along and get that extra movement, and other people are just rush everything out. So I don't know. I like the pushing element, of course. It was fun.
Rusty?
I enjoyed the race aspect of it. The fact that there's that tension that you're trying to get there first, and I didn't see that in either of these. But there are different games, either Fabulantica or Vikinger. But I like race games. I like things that have got that tension where you're worried about, can I get there? Can I get that roll that I need? And yes, there's that excitement when you do and that disappointment when you don't.
Right.
So that was the thing that really drew it out for me.
Okay. Mike?
So on Go Gecko Go, the rules were complicated. We had to go back a couple times, and we had some questions, and we got a little confused by that. I'm really concerned that kids won't be able to get that. Again, maybe it doesn't matter for them, but that seemed to be my biggest problem. Otherwise, I think it's great. The components are great. The race aspect, as Rusty was said, is very compelling. There's a lot of catch-up mechanisms, so you never feel like we're behind. And there's a lot of replayability too, because between the logs and then rolling the dice.
Well, Scott was saying that he felt this one meant to run neck and neck. All the little catch-up mechanisms and things like that made it so that it was a tighter race.
Like it's built in there to sort of always be a little closer.
Which is
at the end of our game, there was a lot of we were a lot of spread up. I say by the last 2 turns, we were all neck and neck. We were all past the second log.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark?
I thought Go Gecko Go was awesome. All the things you guys have said. I mean, it's a well-designed race game. The dice are fun. The racing is fun. And then, as typical for this publisher, Zoc, is just the production is awesome.
Yeah.
That it's got that super double thick board so that you actually have those channels. And there's been a few games like where you push the thing in and slide the whole board.
Haba had that one that was not it's a family game. The Avatar game.
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
It's with the waterfalls.
Oh yeah.
It's
Okay.
got. I mean,
The
these guys
Avatar
are.
game. I get what he means now. I can't remember the name of it, but I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, and it was really
Ikazu.
Yeah, it moved along. Yeah.
And Niagara did that when it went
Yeah,
to the show.
yeah,
So,
right, yeah.
But this works well, and then the pieces, those big chunky wooden pieces, are perfectly sized, right?
Yeah,
so
right,
that
yeah.
they just get, they stack, and they make a logical stack, and then they get pushed by the logs. I mean, it's just awesome, I thought.
They're all three. There's no, I think, design stand out physically for me this year, right? I mean, they all have kind of cool bits, and I mean, Go Gecko Go definitely has the gamer sexier bits, to be sure, right? The big,
I think
big wooden pieces.
Yeah.
Well, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but this is cool. This is sexy. There's a difference between the
We're
two.
talking about kids games.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
Right? Like, there's just something very tactically awesome about the
the
you're
colors are
right.
ridiculously
and also
beautiful.
that when things get pushed off,
Right.
Pieces can't
Stop,
move into
yeah.
other pieces. The physical design of it is really cool. I played this a couple of times, and after the first play, I found this, interesting enough for me, to be the least interesting once I was done with it. And also, maybe it was me, I didn't think the rules actually were that confusing. They seemed fairly straightforward, as far as if you could think of them as far in the order in which you get to do things, right? It was just, can I push the beginning of my turn?
I think it was just questions. There were some more questions came up for that.
Can I
game.
push the beginning of my turn? If I can, then I can choose that. Otherwise, if I can't, then I roll, right? Or if I choose not to, then I roll. And then when you roll, did you roll sunshine? If so, do it.
That's a
And
lot.
then if not, take your turn. That's not that complicated. It really isn't.
I think compared to the other two games, I think that's more complicated. Here, you're putting up some things and rolling. Moving is very straightforward. Either you move in whatever order you want,
Right.
or you skip. This one, on Fabiantica, you play the colors and the colors match, and then you pick up.
Okay.
And that's it. I think Go Gecko has a lot of. Again, it's like a flow chart. I don't think it's complicated. I think there's a lot going on. You have to remember it all.
All right. But after the initial, like, oh, this is really cool and I get to do all these things, the next play was like, oh, okay, I'm doing kind of the same thing every time I play this game. And it's just going to come down to, do I roll correctly or not? I mean, I don't know that that's right. It definitely ticks your box, though, of if I had kids and they said, hey, we want to play this with you, of these three, this would be the one I'd be happy to sit down and play with them and not go, am I in the mood for this or am I not in the mood for this, right? I would always be in the mood for Go Gecko Go. But it did seem like we were always going to be sort of together near the end, and then it just did seem like, well, whoever's going to roll what they need to roll at the end is going to win. And I didn't feel like it was as cool as I thought an option of, oh, should I slide or should I roll, right? There was no reason in a way not to slide because that's a lot of extra movement. And stacking didn't make sense before sliding because you couldn't get under the thing. So I wanted but for a kid's game, maybe that's what it should be, right? Maybe those choices are, maybe this is one of those games where I'm looking for too much game in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is entirely possible, right?
I think so. I think a lot of the things you just mentioned are adult decisions. Let the kids just play against, and I think it is straightforward. If you roll better, you will probably always win. That's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a kid's game.
Right.
Right. Well, I don't mind that at all,
Yeah.
right? I don't mind, please,
Yes.
we love dice games. It's not, and dice games always involve that potential.
True.
But back to your point, Go Gecko Go and Fabulantica and Tyler Viking are all from sort of the standard kids game. I mean, Haba, right? And
Right.
Zoke,
Yeah.
and Pegasus to a certain extent.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they've been doing a lot.
Have
lately.
they?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And these all seem like, I know in previous years you've talked about the toy factor, like like Spinderella, was that what it was
Yeah.
called?
Yeah,
That
Spinderella.
spider, like that was one of those things where how could this not win? It's this amazing, gorgeous contraption,
Right.
and you get to do stuff. And
It's a great gift to give someone.
yeah.
Right?
So do any of these feel? None of these feel head and shoulder above the others to me
Not as much
in that
this year.
category.
I don't think so.
Well, I think seeing this on the table, the colors are just so vibrant.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. Although
I agree.
When you look at the leaves and log stuff, it's kind of the samey, but it still looks really nice.
But another great design decision that you just reminded me of, which is those leaves could have all been the same leaf.
Right. Yeah.
You don't they don't use them for anything game wise other than you just tiles
Yeah.
you push, but they made them different.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really nice touches to that for sure. We talked about the games individually.
Right.
Does anyone have any sort of overall?
Well, Tashi, what her unsolicited opinion to Brian later on was, she loved finding the people and remembering where they were at. She loved the boats, but did not like the dexterity element, and she loved pushing under the bridge.
Right.
She liked all that stuff shifting underneath, which is fun. We were joking around. She particularly had fun when we mentioned piggybacking, right? Because I guess because she piggybacks with her dad and all that stuff. So she was. It was fun, and then we got the funky stack thing going on. That was great. Whenever it's a mismatched sizes with smaller ones beneath, we called it the funky stack. But yeah, they're fun. They're definitely. I think they all have potential to win, and they all are pretty darn good looking. This is. I mean, it's the blandest of the three, but it's still an amazing production. And they got a gold pawn. I mean, come on. They got a gold pawn. That's usually something else. You can choose to play the gold pawn. I guess that's the king, probably.
Vepulantica sort of looks better out of the box than it does in the box.
Yeah.
Right?
See, that's Pegasus on their kids' games have a kind of similar look to them, which I'm not as sold on. I mean, these guys do too.
Yeah.
Looks like a jigsaw.
And so, I mean, they all, you could identify which one of these is from what company, clearly. I mean, that's why Haba always does the yellow. And, Zach always has the beautiful color boxes. They never don't have a good-looking box, basically.
All right, well, before we get into the voting, does anyone have any more thoughts of any of these games versus the other, or any sort of overall nothing thing stuff?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to vote for, we're going to point to the game Go Gecko Go or Fabulantica or Tal the Vikinger that we want to win.
Right.
Not the game we think is going to win, but the game that if we were on the jury, we would want that game to win.
Yeah.
All right? I'm going to count down from 3. 3, 2, 1, point. You ready? Here we go.
Wait, jury?
No, you.
What
No,
you want to
Me.
win.
Your favorite.
Okay.
What you
Always
want to
you
win.
first.
Always
Me
you.
first.
3, 2, 1, point.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
So we have 5 for Go Gecko.
Go.
All right, Mike. Before we get to the next vote, you're the outlier.
Yep.
What was it that you liked better about this one over that one?
I
Than over Tal the Viking or over Go Gecko Go?
I think this is I think it's a better game. It's a fun game. I think Go Gecko Go has the rules problems. I think there's
that makes
a lot
sense.
of chances for arguing and for kids not to understand it.
I
Again,
get
they
it.
may pass it and then I'll worry about it.
I think you just want the game where you can fling stuff off the table.
Oh, I mean, he was smitten with the first, when it
I
went
was
on the
in
board.
fear for my life. In the
You were in fear for your life. I nearly lost mine.
Do not.
That's true. I was in the right seat.
Do not play with Mike.
Okay. All right. So now you're going to vote
this
for
is
the
tougher.
game you think the
always tougher.
jury is going to pick. And I have to tell you, I have no idea.
Well, it's any kind of. It's again, you can just pick what you've already chosen. I mean,
Maybe.
it's got a chance. I know that the rules are a little bit complicated for people. That was what I witnessed at BGG Spring when people were playing it. So it's
Right.
not. You're saying it's plain. I think there were things that were confusing people.
Right.
And it's too bad too
More
because
than the
it's pretty good.
scoring on Valley of the Kings?
I remember
Valley
if you
of
don't
Vikings?
worry about it, you just do what it is, and you.
There's nothing wrong with the scoring. There's no complication because the scoring is just wherever your piece is. It's
but
the
doing it in
strategy
the right
of moving
order and
things.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't see the big difference.
And here's the reality. I saw more people playing this than this one. And but I taught people to play this as well.
Right.
So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know everybody's reaction. I wasn't there all day long, but I did witness some problems with this, and I had to actually come up and solve some problems.
All right, here we go. What the jury will pick.
Yeah.
Counting down. Ready? 3, 2, 1, point. Oh! Fantastic. We have 2, 3, and 1. 2
Yeah.
for Go Gecko. Okay, and
Three for Fabulante?
3 for Fabulante and 1. Why do you?
I
You don't think the rules problems will
I think
count
they're
against
going
that?
to. I think they're going to ignore the rules problems.
Oh, all right. Lincoln, you were the outlier here.
Yeah, I feel that
The
the
dexterity,
flicking fun
the
is
flicking
yes.
fun.
I mean, again, that was my thing with Ice Cool. You know, I don't know that they'll do that again, but I thought that was fun with kids.
I agree.
mean, it was definitely the pieces for that game were so caked with kids' sweat, and so they were playing that game like crazy. But I saw families enjoying this as well.
And
So-
Nikki-
and that's
Yeah.
what they use a lot of that with their judgment
Sure.
is watching kids play the games. You know,
Sure, that makes sense. Nikki, you went with Fabulantica 1.
Yeah, I did.
Tashi's reaction.
Tashi's reaction.
Yeah. Believe me, I was
And-
torn on that.
Small subset.
And it's also kind of like a new reworking of a memory game,
Yeah.
a classic
Yeah.
memory
That's a kid-
game.
Yeah, game for kids.
Yeah.
Is this one that you picked? I can't remember.
No,
Rusty, you picked this one with me.
I went Go
Yeah,
Get Go
you
Go.
picked Go Get Go Go.
But I almost flipped to Valley of the Vikings. Toy Factory.
You and I could have been. Now this guy's won before. He's the guy that designed My First Stone Age, and he might have won before that too. So Marco Teubner's a
What does that count against him
pedigree
or for
designer.
him?
I don't know. I really don't know any of that stuff.
Do you think they even take that stuff into account?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, it's.
I'm going purely on the Enchanted Forest thing, even though that was, what did we decide it was, 37 years ago?
Yeah.
Even though it was 37 years ago.
It's time for another one like that to win again.
Yeah.
I think this is due to the simplicity of the rules, the replayability, and the characters in it. You've got something that the kids will be familiar with. You've got the different characters, the
I see
king,
what
the
you're saying.
princess, those other type of things, and they can make it easier or harder by potentially removing characters also. So you could have less characters in there, less castles, and remove cards that don't mix anymore.
Okay.
So,
Well, I don't know. That would be weird. But I do know that one of the jurors told us that children were making stories up for the location so that they could help remember where things were at.
Oh, that's kind of
So each of the locations is different on the board, and of course each of the characters are different, so they would make a little story to help them remember where things were at, which sounds really charming.
neat.
I guess
Yes.
depending on where you stand memory-wise, the thing you liked about it, right, the moving stuff around, could also be a drawback for some kids, right, who have an okay thing to remember, but like that story you made up would have to then go out the window,
Right.
if you move to a different location.
Right. But if,
But
you
maybe you
if
get
you're
to make up-
tracking it, remember,
Yeah.
you can only track 2 at a time, right? As long as you have, if you
Yeah.
have cards, you only have to track 2.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's what's fantastic about the game. I mean, I didn't pick it, but I still think it has a chance. I think any one of these games
I agree.
could win and should, or would be a good choice.
It was a crapshoot for me, 100%. And like almost every year, the kids' games always seem to be like fantastic choices.
This year really blew me away. Sometimes there's one kids game that's just really a kids game. Very, very small kids.
Yeah, very young.
This year they were all felt more advanced but still potentially accessible. I mean,
Right.
again, we witnessed a 5-year-old. Now she has the benefit of a dad who is in the games industry and knows, she plays a lot of games, so maybe she's not a real good test case, but she was pretty great.
Well, they're all same age range. They're all 6 and up. So.
Right.
I will say this about Fabulantica, though. I felt like I almost wish all players started with a card instead of you had to pick one up.
Right.
Because it ultimately didn't matter. Like the game, it didn't change the game in any way in the sense that people who found cards early and people who found cards late were all in contention for the win at the end. So it didn't tip the scales, but it just was weird to sort of sit there and watch someone open a thing at the beginning and they've just lucked into a card. Now they have a goal and the rest of us are still trying to just find something to do.
Right.
So it didn't affect the game, which was good.
Right.
But it definitely affected that first initial feeling when you played it, right?
Right.
So I don't know if that means you'd play like to 4 coins or just play to 3 coins and have the game be a little shorter. I mean, the truth of the matter is, starting with a card doesn't speed the game that much.
No.
You still have to
something.
still have to find stuff.
Right.
And yes, you could then luck into finding the thing, but you could do that anyway.
Right, and then you have to go find another card because you won't have any more anymore.
Right.
So I think that might be a better house rule.
Yeah.
Can I change my vote now? No. Well, my favorite thing about this one with Tashi was shaking the dice. Yeah. She has them all in her tiny little hand, and she's just moving her hand, right? The dice are not shaking it all, and then she just drops them all, plop, plop, plop. It's pretty great.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for your votes. I guess we'll see when the jury announces You're the one. You keep the spreadsheet for
Yes,
us.
I
Is
do.
that what
Right.
to do? See how we
Yeah,
do.
I'm
over
already.
there?
I'm sure I'm screwed. It's,
You actually aren't you ahead?
do
right
okay.
now?
You do very well.
All right, well, we'll check and we'll see. And thank you for watching. And why don't you vote your own votes for us? Put it in the comment section which one, if you've played them all, or even if you haven't. Why don't you just guess? and also subscribe if you haven't. And if you do, click that little notification bell, and then you'll get little notifications when new episodes come up.
You'll figure it out someday, maybe.
No, I don't know.